Hi everyone. Today I would like to introduce very interesting report from Wall Street. To summarize the main topic, it is about this: where did the pay raise you should have gotten go, and where will your future pay raises will go? To give you the conclusion, first, this report argues that from now on, all of your salary increase will flow into the data center investment. You might wonder, what does that mean? Let's talk about it today. Before I get into the main point, I personally found this report is very interesting and useful. It clearly explains why we shouldn't just rely on the money we earn from our labor income. Furthermore, it shows us where we need to invest our hard-earned money from now on. That is why I want to share this with you guys today. Okay, then let's get started. The report makes this point. Over the past 40 years, when companies made more money, meaning when their productivity improved or their profit jumped, employee salaries should have naturally increased to match that, but they didn't. The report keeps pointing out that for the last 40 years, workers' pay raises flowed somewhere else. It breaks down where our money went into different periods. First, 1990s to 2009, the globalization era. During this time, the share of labor income in major developed countries dropped a lot. The gap between corporate profit and worker wages really started to widen. As the globalization era began, companies held back on giving raises to workers in developed countries. Instead, they invested in so-called overseas low-cost countries and emerging markets. By doing this, they massively increased their profits and productivity, but gave smaller raises to their workers. Because of this, the share of labor income dropped sharply. Simply put, companies made great money, but workers did not get enough reward through pay raises. The report even uses this strong sentence: they sent your pay raise to cheaper countries. Second is the period is 2009 to 2022, the stock buyback era. After that, from 2009 to 2022, what happened? Big economic shock hit, like the 2009 financial crisis and the 2020 COVID crisis. When the economy was recovering from these shocks, companies did not raise employee salary to grow together. Instead, they focused much more on boosting their stock prices through stock buybacks. After a crisis, the stock market bounced back much faster and more aggressively than the real economy. Instead of trying to reward workers, companies saved their money to pump up their stock prices and stop them from falling. In fact, the report says that workers' real wages, factoring in inflation, stayed almost exactly the same. If you just trusted your company during a crisis, thinking the company will save me, as the economy recovers, I'll get a raise, your wealth didn't grow at all. It was hard to even keep up with inflation. If you didn't invest in stocks separately during this time, it would have been very difficult. To give an example from the COVID crisis, the US Federal Reserve cut interest rates to near zero. This meant companies should borrow money almost for free. The original goal was for companies to invest in real economy and give workers big raises. But most companies didn't use the money for new factories or new employees. They used it to buy their own stock, returning the money to shareholders. As the report puts it, the pay raise you were supposed to get flowed to the shareholders. So what happened? What's gonna happen in the future? Reading all this makes you realize that while working hard is important, you really need to invest. So the big question is, where should we invest from now on if we don't lose our money by the inflation? Where should we put our saved money? The report answered this clearly. Your pay raises goes to data centers now. According to the report, in the first quarter of this year, first quarter 2026, big tech stock buybacks increased by only 1% compared to last year. On the other hand, AI investments jumped by 38%. This is highly unusual and the exact opposite of the trend from the last 15 years. In the past, big tech companies used their massive cash flows to buy back stock and boost their stock prices. But now, they are barely doing that. They are pouring all their money into AI investments and data center instead. Why is this happening? The report explains building and maintaining AI infrastructure requires massive capital, but relatively few workers. This means companies will continue to cut labor costs rather than hiring more people. They are even laying people off these days. This trend will only speed up. Instead of giving us bigger pay raises, they will save them money and invest it in AI infrastructure like data centers, semiconductor factories, power grid, and fiber optic networks. Goldman Sachs, the creator of this report, emphasized that they are paying special attention to this area. In short, your future pay raises will flow straight into data centers, not to your salary. Personally, reading this report kind of reminded me the time why I started to stock investment. I truly felt a salary alone is not enough. I really realized that my pay raise alone cannot catch up the inflation rate. I'm sure like the people who watching this video right now felt a similar feeling for a while. This report perfectly explained that the need to invest from the exact viewpoint. Today, I introduced the interesting report called "Where Does Your Salary Go?" and talked about the importance of investing. Thank you for watching my video today. I'll come back with another fun stock and market insight story. See you in the next video.